News and weather with Lauren and Ron, weekdays at 5. This is KMAC Red Raider Nation's Countdown to Kickoff, sponsored by Covenant Medical Group Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Red Raiders with 4 captains for today's game with Baylor, including defensive back Doug Coleman. Our Eric Kelly rejoins us with more on the senior who entered the season with 3 career interceptions and heads into today's game with 5 interceptions in his last 3 games. Eric?
So, David, a lot of the chatter surrounding the Texas Tech defense so far has centered around Jordan Brooks, and why not? He's put together an unreal season, just added to the Bednarik watch list this week. But let's not ignore one of the best stories of the 2019 season, especially on that side of the ball, cornerback Douglas Coleman. I mean, this is a guy who really struggled at times in 2018, but now we talk about that aggressiveness and emphasis on turnovers that comes with a Keith Patterson defense, and he's really been the driving force on the field. 5 interceptions through just the first 5 games of the season. That's the best mark in the nation, and the results clearly coming in from all the work he put in this offseason.
I saw it in the spring. I saw how he practiced. I saw how, man, it's like recess out here to him. Practice is, I mean, he's running around. I mean, catching punts, returning kicks. I mean, covering kicks, covering punts. I mean, it's not a big deal to him, and he loves to compete. He is an ultimate competitor, and it doesn't really surprise me.
Doug's performance over the spring and the summer, I think, I think it all gave us hope that he had a chance to have a really good senior year. He certainly started off that way. He's been at the right place at the right time. He's been very consistent. He's a consistent special teams player. He's a good leader for us. He works hard. It's important to Doug Coleman. And I'm happy for the way he started his senior year.
So through 5 games, obviously Coleman important for this Texas Tech secondary, and probably will be even more so today against Baylor, especially with the injuries that the Red Raiders are facing in that area. Desmond Smith definitely not going to play. Adrian Fry may play, but we don't know just yet. So even more on Coleman's shoulders. We'll see if he can step up and continue his stellar season. David?
All right, time once again for our Covenant pregame report, joined by Dr. Stephen Flores. Unfortunately, we got some injury news to talk about, and a lot in the secondary for the Red Raiders. They get a win against Oklahoma State, but early on, they lose Desmond Smith. And if you watch the video, his teammate rolls up on his leg. He left the game. He had a brace on. He was on crutches.
Right away, what we start thinking about is there any significant injury? Is there a ligamentous injury, ACL, PCL, MCL, or LCL, which are all the ligaments in and about the knee that really stabilize it. And when you get rolled up on like that, you can really kind of cause the knee to bend and potentially sprain or even tear some of these ligaments. What I look for in the clinical setting is how much pain are they in, are they able to bend the knee, how much swelling is in the knee, and depending on these factors, if it looks bad, I'm going to end up getting an MRI, which is what I assume ended up happening here. The results, of course, which we don't quite know. Yeah. But looking at that injury, specifically I'd be worried about his medial collateral ligament or his MCL, and we vary that. There's grades 1 through grades 3. If it's a low injury, grade 1 injury, it's really kind of return to play as your symptoms allow, which could vary from 2 to 6 weeks. Some people bounce back remarkably quick, and I tell my patients, they can go when they can walk, run, and jump without pain. Then we let them get back into action with a brace, of course. Yeah.
Another injury in the secondary was Thomas Leggett tackling Chuba Hubbard. One of those, it looked very similar to Adrian Fry the week before.
Looking at that particular play, kind of slowed down a bit. It's hard to tell whether did he take a knee to the head, did he strain his shoulder going in for the tackle. Obviously, knee to head would be concerning right away. The care we take with head injuries nowadays, we're very concerned about any and all of those. And if we're worried about the player at all, we pull them and they're sitting out and they go into our concussion protocol, which varies from player to player. We baseline test a lot of our athletes, and depending on what their score is, after possible blow to the head or a concussion, they could be out for several weeks until we feel that they're improved.
And speaking of a long-term injury on the offensive line, unfortunately, Jack Anderson, who missed time early on because of an upper body injury.
The reports on this injury are somewhat vague. unfortunately, this sounds like it could be a repeat injury. It sounds like perhaps he went through surgery in the off-season. If this is a repeat injury, you know, I would suspect it may have to do with shoulder stability, with a possible re-injury or an injury to the labral tissue surrounding the shoulder, which really helps stabilize the shoulder. And you know, if it is a re-injury and he just wasn't able to get back, or he re-injured it already at the beginning of this year, you know, they're talking about repeat surgery for him, and we're really after the surgery, which we have great tricks up our sleeve as orthopedic surgeons to go in and tighten this back up. But certainly, going to be extra cautious with return to play. I think they already said he's done for the year, unfortunately. But, you know, after surgery and rehabilitation, look forward to seeing him back.
All right, Dr. Flores, we appreciate your time as always.
Thank you so much.
All right, when we return, Eric and I give you what to watch for in today's game between the Red Raiders and Baylor.